The anticipation.
Matt, your arms look huge.
I'll pay you later. Hey guys, what's up? In today's episode, I'm going to teach you exactly how the step-by-steps to never get no-shows again.
Wonderful. Amazing. How do you do that?
We'll find out after the intro.
Okay.
If you listen to this podcast, you will make your first million within 3 years. You listen and review.
What we're going to talk about today is nurture sequences, no-shows, what induces them, how you overcome them, what it means for a business to be able to, like, what some of the limitations that you have when you have a high no-show rate.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean when I say no-show rate?
People who don't turn up to the sales call.
Or any of the calls.
Or any of them at all.
So glad.
Okay.
Settle in, children. Today's going to be a good one.
All right. Sweet.
Right? So there are many points in the sales process where someone can fall out of it.
Okay.
You know, at any friction point, any point where you're asking them to pass through a gate, right, they can just sort of fall out. And so it's important that as business owners and as sales guys, we understand all those areas where they can fall out really, really well. And not only what gets them to there, but what happens when they're there, what the point of that point is, and then what communication is had with the client in between that and the next one.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off with the most common reasons for no-shows. And I think a lot of people try and make it really complicated, and I will go into some complex reasons why you can get no-shows.
Okay.
Right? But the number one thing is the SMS credits run out on your scheduling system.
Really? It's as simple as that.
Number one reason.
So that's how those work. You have to top that up like a
Top it
prepaid
up.
account.
Top it up.
People don't do that.
They
And
forget.
And that sends out the, what do you call it, confirmation. Reminds people.
Yep.
They don't get it. They're
don't come.
unreminded. They don't turn up.
Exactly. That is literally. So I have like a step-by-step idiot's guide to fixing no-show rates. And the number one thing is the SMS credits topped up. Because like people get lost in a sea of email. You know, like email is not a super effective form of communication for that type of thing. I think it is for like offers and like information. But when it's like, hey, just a reminder, 24 hours, you know. So that's like number one. So, you know, we've had show up rates issues in the past and ran around like chickens with their head cut off trying to figure out what's happening. And haven't been reminded.
What does that cost?
Almost nothing.
Okay. Like per text message that goes out,
like
what are you paying?
less like cents.
Okay.
Yeah, and not lots of them.
Yeah,
like
just a couple of them.
Small amount of them. Yeah, yeah. Because it's an important thing that people have text and email reminders set up because just also like different demographics of people communicate with different means. Like a 50-year-old might want the email, and the text is like, oh, okay, sweet. But also, I think a lot of people forget that it's rare that people follow a calendar as like gospel as much as what salespeople do.
Okay.
So like salespeople or personal trainers or like real service provider people who deal with people like in one-on-one interactions, their day is run by a diary. Whereas like even these days, my day isn't really run by a diary. I have things on my diary, but like I have lots of things that are not diaryable.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
I suppose unless you're one of those, control freaks that maps out their day to the second, if you're not having interactions with others, when I'm editing, I just black out the day editing. Like it's just the whole day. That's what it is.
Exactly.
And I'll stop when I feel like it. I'll have interactions with people as they happen, but I'm not blocking out like minute to minute. Very few people do. And when if you lead that kind of life, it's easy to just be in your work and overlook an appointment that was meant to happen.
Exactly. And also like the way that it's done most of the time is that they are sent a booking link or they now it's a secondary step to then add that to your calendar, which most people don't do. So most no-shows, I like to think that people aren't maliciously no-showing, like, fuck this guy.
Yeah. I'm going to book him out and not turn up.
Yeah. I mean, you do get that. Like, you get, like, names like Fucky McFuckerson, and they're like, like, at fuckyou.com. Oh, it happens. I think it's great. I'm like, well done, 17-year-old guy.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, they just don't click that. It's like a tiny little button down the bottom of these, click to add to Google. And if they don't think to do that, they're doing it on their phone, or they're like a lot of people when they see a Facebook ad, what are they doing? They're like at lunch or they're at home watching TV. The ads come on, they scroll through Facebook and they go, oh, that's interesting. Oh, watch this. That's the context of most people opting into something. So they just forget to do this. Those emails and the text reminders become really important. And so if you don't have those set up and you don't have them set up properly, then it's going to just induce no-shows. So that's like number one, like make sure that's set up. The second most common reason is over or under communicating, right?
So, too much, you mean? As
too
in
much.
Harassing someone to the point where they're just like, oh, fuck off.
Yeah, a lot of the time, though, it's unintentional because you have to have a tag that removes them from marketing sequences.
Okay.
So, like, you can imagine, like, there's probably a lot of businesses that you interact with, have bought something or whatever, or maybe even had a sales call with at some point where they send you marketing communication material where it's like a daily email.
Noble. They are
ruthless.
They won't leave you alone. You end up with 20 pairs of shoes.
So it's working.
I mean, you could opt out, but
why?
They just got the coolest shoes.
What if they keep?
But mate, they're relentless. They email you non-stop. They harass you to the point where, like, I've unsubscribed multiple times, but then every time you buy something new, you're back on the goddamn list.
Back on it, baby.
Catch you again.
Yeah. So what should happen? Like, what I imagine they would have is they have like a buyers list and non-buyers list, and if you're on the non-buyers list, you get even more. Right? Like, so, like, let's just say there was a promotional opportunity where you wanted to, buy a large amount of no-bull shoes, and you were like then in a sales process, but you continued to get the same amount of emails. You'd be like, hey guys, what the fuck? Plus you added all these reminder sequences on top. And then plus you might get emails, which might be like, hey, I need you to fill this, and this out. I want you to watch these testimonials. Then all of a sudden you start getting like text emails, the promotional emails, plus you're being followed around on Facebook because now you've been like targeted, you've been retargeted for like testimonial ads. So it's just like a barrage of information, and you're just over communicating to the person, and it just induces sales distance. And like, this is just too much, guys. I need to get out of here. And they just don't show up because it's easier.
Do you think, so you think they just don't show up because you bombarded them and it was too much, or that they stopped paying attention to everything that was going on because it was too much, and so they forgot that it was on that, like your reminder was just seen by them as another fucking thing.
It's just noise.
Yeah.
It's hard to say which one, but
Either
I mean, the only time I've ever had feedback was the former.
Okay.
Like, fuck you. You know what I mean?
Too much.
You're raping me for information. Like, I've had some aggressive, like, never from our business because we were pretty fastidious about that. But like, as a sales rep in a business, I've been like, hey, dude, fuck you and the amount of emails you sent me. And the most I've ever seen was like something like 37 communications in the matter of 3 days.
Okay. That's
because they were on every list.
Yeah.
So like, what you have to set up is the moment that a booking is created, it has to send auto tags out to the CRM to immediately remove them from all promotional emails. So the only thing they get from you is what they should get at their part of the sales cycle.
Okay.
Because you might have 6 different lists and they might be on all of them.
Yeah.
Like I can see, we have a lot of like downloadables on salesniper.net. You can go there and get a whole bunch of free downloads.
Did you say it was salesniper.net?
I think so. I think it was salesniper.net.
.net, Salesniper.
And there was free downloadables.
Salesniper.net.
Yeah.
Okay. Just to be clear.
Yeah, we might put it somewhere. So, but I was like, and some of them put you on different lists, right? And I've seen guys on like 7, like every list.
Yeah,
they've downloaded everything we have available, and then they're like in our Facebook groups. They're on this, they're on this, they're on this, they're on this, and they're just on everything. You know what I mean?
So they're going to get smashed with emails, and then I think we discussed this the other week. I think one of the worst parts of that is then that you're partway through the sales process or have just bought, and you get a discount.
Yeah, oh man,
like that.
Yeah, you got to. That's why it's another thing. You got to take them off promotional emails because you don't want the people who just bought to get the flash sale. You know, because it makes you look stupid.
Yeah,
and you get like refunds and people getting pissed off, and which like it's funny because like if I bought a sweater at like Nordstrom's and it was on sale the next day, I go
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be like, how dare you, Nordstrom's? This is a malicious attack.
But people do.
Oh yeah, they get angry.
Yeah,
I've seen it. Yeah, I've had it happen.
Yeah.
And then my explanation is always the same. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Like we had a flash sale.
It is the problem. Like, because when people, you're marketing, I have encountered this with just my own stuff, is you almost feel bad when you see a sale come in, knowing full well you're gonna do a sale next week.
Yeah.
That week building up, you're like, oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
You paid double what you could have next week.
Yeah.
But what can you do? Like, that's business. That's just how it goes.
Exactly. That's marketing cycles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so there's that, and then there's under communicating, which is where like it's like one guy going, "Hey man, don't forget, you have a thing in 2 days' time," and that's it. It's nothing. So like you really got to like find the balance. That's where tracking your show up rates is really important. So like if they're booking in through like a VSL or some sort of video sales at a webinar or something, it's like, okay, what communication are they getting? What is the outcome we're looking for the communication? What is the frequency and pacing of that? And then from there, what's the efficacy of it? And it's like, let's make some small tweaks and changes one part at a time. So one thing that I did particularly well when I was like just commissioning sales repping is I mapped it out from all the steps, and then I had my like acceptable tolerances. And every month I focused on one metric. So it was like, okay, I'm going to focus on that one. And then I did I changed one thing, let it go for a week, changed another thing, let it go for a week. And then by the end of that month, I would have like optimized, like increased that by a little bit. Okay, now what's the lowest performing metric? Okay, I'll go to that. Okay, I'll go to that.
Go back a step. When you were commission only sales rep for other people, who's in charge of that reminder sequence?
Well, it's the business, but I felt like I had to control it because it was directly affecting me.
Okay, so it should be the business. Like people listening, if you are the business owner, then that's up to you to be putting those things in place. But if you're the sales rep, then you really should be checking on those things and making sure that they actually have been done. And if not, then developing a system of your own.
And you got to be able to see the red flags of like, my no-show rate is enormous. Like we have an account right now, they're giving us plenty of leads, but they have a 60% no-show rate to our first call. And it's like, okay, so I went through, and first thing was like, let me have a look at all the communication you're sending. And it was garbage. It was terrible.
Okay.
So I rewrote all their emails.
In what way?
It was so assumptive. It was just like, instead of, like, it was a little bit of over communicating, but that wasn't too bad. But the communication was like, on this call, make sure you come prepared because we are going to present you with an opportunity that will change your life.
Okay.
And I was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I quit. Like that stuff is so assumptive and so salesy that it provides nothing positive. Also, there's like a veil of fake. Thing that really pisses people off is when they know it's fake personalization.
Okay.
You know, like, oh, hey, Pat, it's just Matt here, and I'm really looking forward to our call at 3:30 p.m. EST. You know what I mean? Like, there's just an obvious part where it's just like, just have it be automated.
Yeah. Don't pretend it's not automated.
No, don't pretend. It's just like, because you're, in my opinion, you're getting off the wrong foot straight away. You know, like you're lying to a prospect immediately, which I just don't ever see ending well. And so, so like there's a lot of things and nuance in the communication that you send out. But for me, it's like, okay, first of all the things being done? Second of all, are we over or under communicating? Have we make sure the tags have been set up so we're not just like looping people on lists? And then like the third one is sort of like, what style of communication are we doing and what's the outcome? A lot of people, I think they try and do too much with their pre sort of call communication. Like they're trying to like set up the sales reps for layups or something. And it's like, it's just not going to happen. It's also not the point. Don't try and do the next thing up.
Okay.
You know, like the point of that is to get them to show.
Okay.
So what you're trying to do is not fuck it up.
Okay.
That's your only goal.
Okay, so by that you mean they're trying to prep people too much for the sale and gearing them, like framing or whatever, too much, and really just make sure they turn up, nothing else. Just like, it's here, this time, this place, be there or be square.
Yeah, but also like normalizing that it's okay to be busy. Because like what you want to do is you want to like, you don't want someone to feel bad for not showing up. Because like, raise your hand if you ever no-show to a sales call, like I have, and it wasn't not intentional. But then it's like, if the sales rep comes back like, this is my time and my diary space and motherfucker, and you, it's like, hey dude, like it was a mistake. I have kids, like they're more important.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, sorry.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You know yourself? Go fuck it.
Come closer. Go fuck yourself. Do you often include like a reschedule link in case, so that if people, it's easy for them if they look at it and go, oh, I am busy that day.
Yeah.
Is it an easy reschedule?
I will usually try and get them to reach out to reschedule. I think rescheduling links cause an overabundance of reschedules.
Okay.
Like I want people to know like, hey, like please respect diary. Like I totally understand if you have to reschedule, life happens at all times. Just reach out to us and we will do our best to fit you in as soon as humanly possible.
Okay, so you want them to email or call or something, like interact with a real person to reschedule.
Exactly. It's just I think it's a much better way of doing it. And then like if somebody does no-show, normalizing that is an important step. A lot of people make the mistakes, not a business make the mistakes of like trying to frame it as like you are just kind of a shit human if you no-show. And a lot of sales reps I know like their process is kind of like that's what they're taught. And I think that's just to make them feel better. to be honest. It's not really very productive. But like I always send messages like, oh, hey, dude, something must have come up. I totally get it. I've got kids, like a life. I totally understand. If you want to reconnect really soon, just let me know. Send me a text and I'll like make some time for you. If this is a thing that you need to sort of push back for a little bit of time, that's cool. Let's just connect next week and I'll give you a call. Or if this is just not for you, that's cool, dude. Just let me know.
How do they get that from you? Like that's a text message or an email or something?
So I would usually call people like 2 or 3 times, like at the time.
Okay.
And then I'll text them.
So when they no-show, you wait. How long do you give it before you contact them? You're sitting on the Zoom call. No one's there.
I usually like text them pretty much straight away. Like, hey, brother, on the call, looking forward to having a chat.
Okay.
Right? If I get nothing back, then I'll call from a different number.
Ooh, snap it too.
Yep. I'll usually call from a different number. Usually after about 3 or 4 minutes, like so it's not super obvious. And then I'll be like, hey, dude, I'm just in the Zoom call. Let me know if there's any troubles. And sometimes that'll get them to hop on. Like sometimes they're just busy and they forget, stuff like that. Or they'll be like, yeah, I'll be there in a second. And they just lie. And they're just people who don't like conflict.
Okay.
You know, a lot of people just don't like
So
conflict.
if they say, I'll be there in a sec, and they never turn up,
do
you then give them that same follow-up of like...
Yeah, super nice.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, what's the point?
No, but I'm curious because that's a different thing. Like, just not turning up at all and saying, I'll be there in a second, and then not turning up. That's a really different thing to do.
Yeah.
But they still both get the same follow-up.
Yeah, the reason is because, like, I don't know what day that person's had.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
You know, and so, like, sometimes it's just like, today is not the day.
You
know, like, I've had, like, this and this. My missus has been fucking screaming at me. This has happened. This has happened.
Yeah.
Like, yesterday, for a sales call, yesterday was not the day, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So I was just like, okay, hey, man, I get it, dude. Don't stress at all. Like, if you want to come back, let me know. If not, that's cool, too.
Let me just tell you a little story. For people, you wouldn't know, how would you? But my son, who's nearly a year old, kind of circled the drain for 2 weeks when he was born and was in intensive care for a long time. It was a real problem. And I was coming home from the hospital and this guy was blocking the street. He was dropping off like at the school there and he was totally blocked. And I got out of the car and I was like, hey man, can you please just move the car? And he just turned and gave me lip. I just went to high level straight away.
Yeah.
And he was like, what's wrong with you? Like, this is overreaction. And I actually said to him, I was like, man, I'm giving you 2 weeks worth of fury at the moment. Like, I'm very sorry, as I was sort of coming back to myself and was realizing. And that was a huge one, in that you just don't know what set of circumstances someone came from right before they're dealing with you. Like where I was just like, dude, I have no time for anything. If you get in my way, I'll hurt you. I'll go through you. Yeah. And he couldn't have known that. He just was parked shittily.
Yeah.
And I lost it.
Yeah.
Lost it.
And I think like people just don't give the benefit of the doubt. And it's a lesson that I learned. And I learned it because I did it to someone. The guy was like, I'll sign up. I was like, hey, dude, you want to do a credit card? He's like, hey, listen, dude, like one of the guys on his team had all the company credit cards because they were going to buy all this stuff for a big job. He's like, hey, dude, I just don't have the cards. Like, I'll pay, but you call me back at 7. I was like, cool, man. Called him back at 7, didn't pick up. Texted him, didn't answer. And then I was like, this is disrespectful. My time is important. Anyway, so I wrote him an email. It was like well worded, but it was kind of like the general gist was, how dare you, right? And he responded to me back, and he's like, this is super disappointing. I just actually had like a bunch of family shit happen that night. I just didn't have time to get back to you. And he said, this shows me that you don't actually care about me getting results. You just care about getting the sale. And I was like, touche. You are right.
You got me.
Yeah. And that was a big lesson. So he actually ended up signing up around me. To the business owner directly because I did a good job of selling him. Yeah. And he wanted to do it, but he didn't want me to get the comms.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, and I was like, fair call. And ever since that happened, like that was a really good lesson. And I was like, I just don't know. I don't know the circumstances of this person doing this. So, and it's better for my mental well-being if I assume the person had the best of intentions. Because there's no way that I can know they don't. Unless they text me going, gotcha, bitch.
Yeah.
Then I can't know. And then I'd be like, well played.
Have you ever had anyone go around you before or since?
No.
So you've never had anyone intentionally still buy the product and make sure you didn't get the commission for whatever reason?
No. I mean, it might have happened, but I just didn't know about it. But that time, like, he told me what he's going to do.
Yeah.
Like, the guy was like, I'm still going to buy this, but I'm going to do it so you're not involved.
Perfect.
And I was like, well played.
Thank
And
you.
it was a great lesson. Like, it really was. And I flat out, I was like, hey, dude, you know what? I actually really appreciate you giving me the feedback. You are 100% right. And this is a good learning lesson for me. I hope you crush it in the program.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it was great. And then from then on, every single, like, the little mantra that I told myself was, I'll treat everybody like it's my mother.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if somebody doesn't pick up the phone, I'm concerned. I'm not angry.
Mm.
So it's like, hey, man, is everything cool? If you need to reschedule, don't stress about it. I get it. I have a life too. Just let me know what you need me to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And then it comes through so much better for your mental well-being. It's easier. And you just otherwise you walk around, like a lot of sales reps walk around thinking that the world is trying to fuck them in the ass.
Mm.
And it's just like, most of the time, guys, they're just busy.
Mm.
And you're just not that important to them. And fair enough. Like, why should you be?
Yeah. It's a very fleeting interaction, right?
Yeah.
And I suppose as a consumer, missing a sales call is no big deal because you could just do another one.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're like, I missed it. I totally forgot. Sorry, bro. Can we go again in a week? And that makes no difference to you as a consumer.
Yeah.
But as a salesperson, that's the difference between a commission this week or next week, right?
Yeah.
Or at all.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, that's a tough one for a lot of sales reps to get around, but I think it's an important one to teach, and I make sure that my guys trying to think that way. Otherwise, you just burn out because you think the whole world hates you all the time,
Yep.
But again, there are things that you can do to prevent that. So we've gone over step one, making sure that you have all the appropriate credits, and just like the stupid things. Like, what are the stupidest things that could happen that would induce this no-show?
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, do we have credits? Are we over-communicating, under-communicating? Is the communication that we're sending just raucous?
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to know that. Like, everyone should know exactly what communication is being sent at every stage, because it's such a vital part of the process where you can fuck it up when you shouldn't. It just shouldn't be fucked up.
Yep.
So like some of these emails that are like, make sure all decision makers are on the call. Like, guys, there are better ways to word that. Hey, if you have a partner, we'd love to have them on the call so we can understand their perspective as well.
Yeah.
Like, just word it like that.
Yeah.
And like, what's funny? Like, you think an email is going to dictate whether or not someone brings all decision makers? Like,
do you
what kind of power do you think it has?
Do you think that when you see emails like that, maybe that's an ESL issue? Like, that was written by a VA and they don't understand the impact of that kind of words, like English as a second language? Do you think?
I think from what I've seen, it's business owners going like, no.
I'm important.
They need to know.
Yeah, okay.
Don't waste my time.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it is most of the time. And I think that's a flawed logic.
Yeah.
In the first place. Like, for me personally, I've always said I'd rather have a sales call with an unqualified or underqualified salesperson, with a prospect, rather than have no sales call at all, because I'd like the opportunity. Not only is it an opportunity to get better, because if you're talking to someone with no money and you're selling something expensive, you'll have to do some ninja shit to get that across the line, even if it's impossible.
Yeah.
You can go through a really cool learning process with that.
Yeah.
Right, which makes you better. Like, training a hard dog makes you better. Selling tough prospects makes you better. So there's that benefit. And then, like, if you do it in the right way, like, financial situations ebb and flow like a tide. When they are ready to buy, they will.
They come back to you.
And so it's about creating that ecosystem around yourself that allows you to have a lot of long-term success.
Here's a question. Imagine you have a sales call. The person's like, hey, I would love to get this product. It's just impossible for me currently. And you go, yeah, cool, we'll follow up. You're off that account. 6 months later, they contact you directly and say, oh, I'd like to buy. But you're no longer a part of that. What do you do then? Do you then, do you pass them on in some way? Or do you try and figure out a way to get that commission? Like, how does that work? Or has that ever happened?
No, it's happened. Usually I'll sell them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even though you got nothing to do with that business anymore, and then call those people and go, hey.
Yeah. So I'll take all the details required. If I still have all the payment links, I'll process it. And then I'll do the onboarding. Because I have like all my onboardings bookmarked.
Okay.
Like that. So I still have onboardings from like the first account I was on, just in case.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they'll have to pay out the comm.
Okay.
Like, I made the sale.
Yeah.
Like, and they'd be like, oh, sweet.
Yeah, they're happy to.
Yeah, they'd
sure.
be happy to. Yeah, it's like it's a free lead for them. You know what I mean? So do that. If I've been told specifically that they don't want us doing any follow-up, then what I'll do is I'll go, okay, what do you want me to do? People who come to me in 2 months and want to buy, I'll be like, because I'm not passing them on unless there's something in it for me. Mm-hmm. In which case, I'll probably usually set up a referral fee with the sales rep. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Like if they're a really cool person and I can't get any of that done, I'll still pass them on.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be like, oh, here you go, talk to this person.
Yeah.
Like I got nothing against the individual. If it's just a flick an email, then it's fine. Sure. But I'll usually try and find a way to get the commission.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I usually have pretty good relationships with the prospects, especially like some people I farmed for like a year.
Mm.
You know, so I talk to them.
That's what I mean. So like you must have things pop up from like 2 years ago and stuff like that you're like.
Yeah, I had like 2 weeks ago. I had a guy call me from when I was selling on TGC 3 years ago.
Yeah, right.
He's like, "Hey man, been following your stuff. I think I'm ready to sign up with TGC." I was like, "Fuck, it took you a while, mate." Like,
got him in the end.
I just passed him on to. I just put him in the pipeline for the boys.
Yeah.
Because we still did the sales for them.
Perfect.
So like I was like, yeah, perfect. That's great. His name is Patty. But yeah, it's pretty funny. So we've got those 4 steps, right? And then what we need to do now is figure out what dictates. Well, what happens when you have poor show up rates?
Yeah.
Right. The real limiting factor is you cannot scale the business.
Okay.
At all. If your show up rate, I would say, is below 60%, you can't increase your ad spend.
Okay.
Because all problems are exacerbated at scale, right? So it's not like your show up rate's going to get better, because the way that especially Facebook or any of the marketing platforms work is like they attract similar people.
Yeah.
So like you have to, like if you have a no-show problem, some of it might be targeting, like you're not targeting the right people. And if you don't have a good media buying team, it will just like target people with the same behavioral patterns, because it's all behavior. So if they're behaving one way on Facebook, like that's who they are.
Yeah.
So they'll behave the same way on a sales call, behave the same way. So you start to get a real niche avatar. So if you're not careful, like you'll scale your ads specifically for people who just don't fucking show up. Right? Like it's really easy to do because the machine learning is so quick, so effective.
So how do you avoid that?
Just good media buyers, man.
Okay.
Like that's sort of step one. People who know what they're doing, and people who are, again, this goes back to the problem where it's like marketing guys are just looking for leads.
Yeah,
and sales guys are just looking for sales conversion.
Surely that becomes another important part of that looping of the two together.
They have to talk. Yeah. And like the marketing team needs to be able to take constructive feedback, and the sales team needs to be able to take constructive feedback. But the hard part is there's almost never a person who can sit in the middle and actually give you if these leads are quality. It's such an interesting thing about having Marco, is because so we do the sales and marketing for a lot of our clients, which you can go to crushsales.net, and I think it's crushsales.net.
Crushsales.net.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where they should go.
Yeah, you can go there and you can apply to have us do your sales and marketing for you. So we do it together. And the reason why it's worked out so well so far is because like you have the head of marketing, who's Marco, who can listen to a sales call and go, oh, those leads are garbage. So you got the sales team going, I don't know if these leads are any good, man. And usually this marketing team's going, but no, they're amazing. Look at this form they filled out.
Yeah.
And it's like, we've gone over that before. It's like, it means nothing. But they don't have the technical sales ability to listen to a sales call and pick up what's happening. Whereas Marco can listen to 10 calls and go, oh, no, these aren't good.
Yeah, good sales guy, bad lead.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And like a good sales guy can make things happen with a bad lead. But again, that's not scalable. Like it's just skill. And as soon as that person leaves, then no one's going to be able to replace them.
Sure.
So like that's one of the reasons why like having a person who is skilled in both is really difficult to find, for one thing, but also very important to where you can have a really constructive feedback loop over the sales guys going, this is the data that we're seeing. And the marketing guys taking that and going, okay, what element of that is us doing a good job? What element of that is us doing a bad job? And how do we adjust? And the sales team doing the same thing. Feel like because they should be able to go, well, dude, you guys have had this many calls, this many calls, this many calls. Like the show up to sales call, if they're going through that triage method, that's nothing. That's almost nothing to do with the marketing team. It's all the sales team. There is a small element, like if they haven't been removed from those lists, they can induce no-shows through some of those things, some like silly things, or if they're just being bombarded with information or whatever. But generally speaking, the quality of that middle conversation will dictate the amount of shops going through.
That's interesting to me because I had always kind of pictured the sales and marketing as being quite siloed, and that's the issue. But there is a grey area, even when you are using two completely separate companies, and that is for the show up, right?
Yeah.
So there is an overlapping that has to occur, even when you are using two totally separate entities.
Yeah, there's two places where the overlap needs to. One is the qualification rate from one stage to another. Mm-hmm. So like if there's a human filter there, what percentage of those people are they letting through? Okay. If they're letting through, and this goes back to that video that we just kind of shot before, which is like, how do you know how to dynamically kind of control how many people you let through? And this is why like sales conversion rate is not necessarily the right metric to look at, but it's like if I have a lot of shit leads, and I can want to fill my diary up. I have to be quite careful with who I let through, but I still want to fill the diary. So I know that if I have a lot of low leads, but I still want to book a lot of sales calls, like my sales conversion is going to be low, but my overall sales will be higher.
Yep.
Whereas like if you gave me a KPI of like say 60% close rate, and that was my KPI, I'm like, all right, just let no one through.
Yeah.
Like that's easy to achieve. I'll only let people who have X amount of money in their pockets right now, like who are ready on the call. And I can ask a series of questions in that discovery. Are you ready to take action now? Do you have liquidity required? Like this and this and this and this, like done, put them through. We'll close like 70% of them. But that's just going to limit the pool of people that we allow through. So we're only letting in the laydowns. Like let's widen that out a little bit. So that qualification rate, if it's really low, the marketing is not doing its job.
Yep.
Right. But like that takes a while to dial in, and it's going to go up and down and all that kind of stuff. So you got to have a way to kind of move that goalpost a bit. But it's also, it can be the sales guys just being too critical. So you got to be able to listen to those calls and have a look and flag if a qualification rate is too high or too low. You know?
So in a traditional sense, where that marketing and sales is done by two completely different entities, who does that?
No one.
Okay.
That's why they don't win.
Right.
You know, and so we took over that functionality at Sales Sniper. Like, so we work with, that's why like marketing companies either love or hate working with us. Like there's nothing in between, man. Like the good ones are like, man, this is awesome.
Yeah.
We get great feedback. We give them data they would never have. We explain to them things like all of our reasoning. We track everything. We work with them. But the ones who like just don't want to be held accountable, they all quit.
Yeah.
We've had that many because we go, no, dude, like I can show you why this is your fault. And then I'll explain in detail why this is their fault. And I'll show them all the data, all the metrics, run through all the problem solving that I've done to fix everything on my end. And we go like, so what have you done about it? We got more leads, spent more money. Well done. Yeah. You are good at your job. So like, for example, we're in a situation right now where we're giving this feedback to a marketing company and they just don't know how to take it.
Okay.
And so we've gone, hey man, like you can't raise ad spend. Like I've told them, you can't raise ad spend. They go, why not? We go, because you have a fucking 65% no-show rate. Like only 35% of people are showing up. I go, it's only going to get worse if you increase ad spend. I go, we need to fix this issue. And then what did they do? Went away straight away and turned up ad spend.
Okay.
And they were like, I came back the next day or the next week and I was like, why'd you turn up ad spend? Oh, because we wanted to get more sales. I was like, but that won't work. It's not more sales. You're just throwing money away. Like, let's fix this issue. Then turn the ad spend up.
It subtensions out, right? So if you're 65% no-show rate, it's going to be that whether it's 100 people and 65 of them aren't turning up, or it's 1,000 people and 650 of them aren't turning up. Yeah. But you've paid to reach 650 people for no reason.
Exactly. And also, like, the people who are taking those calls, like, you have to... Like, I want to fill people's diaries up, but it's like, now you put me in a position where like, okay, am I going to fix your problem? Fine, I'll triple book all calls.
Yeah, okay.
So now I've got to double and triple book calls.
From their point of view, they are right. Without understanding your, like the actual sales process and the time wasted and the manpower down the toilet, they're just like, well, we can, that number, if we're getting 35%, it's 35, let's make it 350.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's great. We've got 350 people turning up.
And that's the mentality that results in a sales team that's really large and nobody makes any money.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So what you've got to do is like people get too impatient to sort of scale accounts. And this particular account, it's got a lot of potential. We've done a particularly good job We're doing a lot of consulting with them for free to try and get them to fix this. But like they're remunerated through profit share.
Right.
Right. But they also have a large retainer. So it's like, it's just not to me, it's not a situation that ends well. You know what I mean? Like they're not remunerated in the right way.
Yeah.
Like they're in too much of a hurry, but they also have too big of a fallback. So it's like they can do stupid shit. So like when I had my first meeting with them, I was pretty pissed off, and I said, "Raise your hand if you have a salary." And they all raised their hand, and I was like, "Well, none of my guys have that. So why don't you guys stop fucking around and actually do some work?" And that really that worked. It really realigned them. But
so the marketing companies that do like you feeding back to them, have you got any feedback from them that like what you apply back to them, they then can apply to other accounts that they do, and therefore be more successful across the board, having received that feedback directly from you on that account? That chances are that templates across to other accounts and that they can be more successful.
There are very few companies that can provide as much insight into a sales process than what we can.
Okay. Why?
We just done so many of them.
Okay.
And I looked at things so analytically when I was a sales rep, and I've passed that on, and that's been extrapolated out now that like we can look at things and go, that is why it's not working.
Okay.
And sometimes like I've gone, hey, this is us. I'd be like, so you need to give me 2 weeks because this is our fault.
Okay. So the script's not working. We don't know the product, whatever it is.
Something's happened. Yeah. And so they gone, oh, okay. And I'm like, so we need 2 weeks. Don't ramp ad spend. Like, don't whatever you do. Like, it's not going to make any more money. So, like, let me fix this. And then I'll go, okay, I'll fix it. You can go now.
Okay. And does that look like getting all that data, recording it, that looks like something that the guys fill out after a call, or from the analysis of the call, someone else looking in, like Marco reviewing calls, or
so it's
like what's that tangibly? Like, what can you hold?
We get end-of-day reports for every account. And then from there, it's like there are certain like baseline data metrics that every part of a sales process account dependent should fall into. Like it's different. Like if we're doing a BizOp account, like all the rates are lower.
Okay.
The show up rates are lower. The sales calls, the pass through rates are lower. It's just because it's people like looking to, it's really easy to get leads.
Okay.
Right? That's the real answer.
Because like make $10,000 a week.
Do you hate your life?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to make money?
How did you know?
Yeah, click this button. You want a Lambo, bitch?
Here's a fake email address.
Yeah. You want a Lambo? Yes. Click this button. Yeah. Right? So it's just easy to get leads, especially in the US, right?
Okay.
So the easier it is to get leads, just the worse quality like coming through everything is. So you have to have different metrics in mind, where if it's like an agency, right? Like say Sales Sniper or Sniper Media, or like an agency model like we sell for Ken Okazaki, like we don't need many leads at all because like agency leads are better, but they're few and far between comparatively.
Okay.
So we sort of create the success metrics based on what we've seen in other accounts, and then if we let it run for a couple of months, and then from there we can realign what good KPIs are. But we just have like sort of red zone, green zone, yellow zone, right? So if it's in the green zone, fucking sweet. And you can see as soon as particular metrics start to fall below, then you just make a tweak and hopefully that does it. So like the reporting structure is, hey, this is what we saw. This is what we did to fix it. It's either in progress or has worked, and this is some issues that I can't figure out how to fix. And then from there, we do strategy on how to do that, hand that strategy back down, they implement it, let us know how it went, and then so it's a reporting structure like that.
Yep.
And we've done that just through passing it down, and so we should be able to, on a day-to-day basis, red flag any issues. Like one of our accounts right now, we're doing the sales and the marketing. Lead flow is great. Sales are low. So, but like the conversion was high. So we figured out it was activity.
Okay.
So we fired the outbound guy in there. Right. He just didn't do shit.
Right.
So I was like, oh, he just didn't do anything. You know what I mean? So like new outbound person, $400 or $200 a day, that will fix the problem. You know? And then from there, like the efficacy of that person, because they're new, will be lower because they're newer. Yep. So it's like their show up rates, their conversion rates, everything will be down, but we'll be able to build that up with a little bit of time and skill. But the sales guy we have in there is doing a good job. You know, like, so you can sort of tell through activity. There's two types of metrics, activity and skill. Like, or the skill based numbers fine, or the activity based numbers fine.
So by activity and skill, you mean how hard do you work and how good are you at it?
Yeah, or how effective is that work?
Okay. Yep.
Because you can have people who are just like crazy, like they just go for it, but they're bad at
Just
it.
flapping around.
But I mean, like that's not a bad way to be, because that's actually a much better person to have than someone who's really talented but doesn't do shit.
You can sharpen that spear.
Yeah, I had a chat with a guy the other day. He told me he wanted to move up in the world of sniper and sell this, and this, and he just hadn't done shit on the accounts I put him on. I said, okay, you need to do more stuff. What do you mean? I said, how about you make 3 sales a day, or I find someone who can. He goes, oh, okay, I guess I'll do that.
Okie doke.
I was like, is that clear enough for you, champ? Like, and hopefully that motivates that person to then do the activity because they're talented.
Yeah, okay.
And I fucking hate seeing talented people not do the work.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my bugbears in life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is why I'm so glad that I was so shit at sales. I was so bad at it. Lenny was the sales guy, you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like the sales guru in the business.
Yeah.
I was terrible at it. I hated
Really?
it. Yeah. But I
Turned
got good at
around.
it. Yeah, until we turned that around real quick. It only took me 13 years.
Overnight,
Yeah.
13 years
That was
success.
an overnight success. So that's a few other things. If I'm sort of, so we've got like, is everything set up? Have we got the sort of correct amount of communication? Are we getting people off tags? We're not doing overly fake personalized emails.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then we understand like the communication and what we're trying to do with that next phase. And then, having the conversation around that gray area, the handover of sales and marketing. It's like, where does the marketing department's responsibility stop?
Yeah.
Where does the sales responsibility begin?
Yeah.
And there is that gray area that you've got to figure out, and you've got to everyone's got to acknowledge this is the handover point, and we're all responsible for this metric getting better. And then you just find what your shittiest metrics are, and you just work on each one, like step by step. And if you do that, you'll fix show-up rates. And because you cannot scale your business, an account, whatever it is, or as a sales rep, you just can't make more money when you have really bad show-up rates.
So something you said just a few minutes ago about triple booking calls.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when you open 3 Zoom meetings and all 3 people turn up?
Yeah, well, usually it's the same meeting.
Okay.
So you would only double book if you had an over 50% no-show rate.
Yeah, okay. So you've got a 66% no-show rate.
I would double book in that situation.
Okay.
Or I would stagger book. So let's just say I'm taking 45-minute sales calls. I'd have a new one start every 15 minutes.
Okay.
So I would overlap them heavily.
Okay. So you could just be late to
Yeah,
one.
and that's where if you finish a call early, call the next person.
Mm-hmm.
If you finish a call late, text them, say, hey, I'm running 5 minutes late. I really apologize, and push it back. So that's a really good tactic. Some of our accounts, that's how we work.
Mm-hmm.
We have one account that we do the sales and the marketing for, and it's just the demographic of the human beings that we're going after for that particular business.
Yeah.
It's a high no-show rate account. We've tried everything under the sun to fix it. Everything we've tried, and it's doesn't make a fucking difference no matter what we do. Triple book.
Okay. So I guess that's what's interesting because, it's one thing to say triple book, but it's another reality to deal with that, right?
Yeah.
And so, that could surely lead to people being flustered, knowing that there's someone else waiting, maybe they're texting you, you're midway through handling an objection at the back end. You don't think I don't think I'm going to get over the line, but I've got another person in the tank waiting. Do I abandon this quickly in order to not be late and therefore decrease the chances of the next one? I think that's the minutia where certainly, not having done it, that's what I'm thinking about. What's the practicality of that? Right?
Yeah.
It's one thing to just say triple book, but it's another to handle 3 people at one time.
So triple booking is a rarity.
Okay.
I've only known of it being done once, and that's on the account that we're doing at the moment.
Okay.
So double booking is fairly common though if you have pretty high no-show rates. And you can double book and stagger, so you can just go we'll just stagger them, and that's usually an easy way to do it. But you just got to be okay with it, and it's this is the method that maximizes my time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's if this maximizes my time and gives me the best chance of making the most amount of sales in a month, then I just have to deal with the ramifications of the good and the bad of that. And it's an unlikely scenario if you have a 60% no-show rate that 2 people show up at the same time.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Statistically, it's an anomaly.
It's uncommon, but not impossible.
No, it does happen, but that's where because you're having no-shows, like, and it will happen where you have two people not show up at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Then from there, that's when you call the next person early.
Okay.
And so, like, you're always kind of working in front and behind your own diary.
Okay, right. So you're trying to intentionally draw them apart wherever possible.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Jeremy told it to me. I was having this problem, and he was like, just double book it. And I was like, what do you mean?
See, this is the thing. See, like, I feel like you just dropped that as like, oh, you just double book. And I'm like, no, that seems like quite an advanced concept to me.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't seem like an easy
it's not
thing
common
to do. Yeah.
I've never heard anybody else talk about it.
Yeah.
Except for Jeremy, who's like, oh, just double book everyone. I was like, what do you mean, dude? He's like, well, I used to have 50% no-show rate, so I double booked everyone. And I was like, well, I had the exact question. Well, how do you deal with this? He's like, just call them early, call them late.
Okay.
I was like, oh. It's like the simplest possible answer. Yeah, you just text them while you're talking to the person. Hey, I'm really sorry, I got caught in a meeting.
I feel like we need to make a practical YouTube video on this. We need to.
Yeah, we
can
do
expand
that.
on that. If you'd like to see that, let me know in the comments.
Yeah.
A YouTube video on double booking. How to do it. How to handle it when both turn up at the same time. When to do it.
The pitfalls.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a game changer for the accounts that it needs to be on. It's a game changer. And a lot of the time we'll do it temporarily when a marketing company is trying to figure something out.
Okay.
And they're shocked when we do it.
Yeah, right.
I go, yeah, it's cool, man. We'll just double book everyone. They're like, huh? I'm like, yeah. Well, your show up rate sucks. I'll just double book it. It's fine. They're like, you can do that? And I was like, we can. It's just a button. Done. Yay.
Yeah.
Like that. I much prefer stagger booking. I much prefer doing like 15-minute increments and just go bang, 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 like that. Or even like just reducing the call time.
When you said it's the same Zoom link, have you ever had two people unrelated to each other turn up to the same call?
Yeah.
And you just like...
Just roll with it.
Yeah, I'm going to pitch you both.
Yeah, going to get you both.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Tom, this is Brad.
Yeah.
Brad, this is Tom.
You guys both have shit businesses. You guys should be friends.
You guys are going to get along real good.
Yeah. One of the things that I've learned in sales is that you cannot be flustered by anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's and I'm generally not flustered by much in life anyway. Like one of the things I used to do all the time was when people wanted to make a payment, but like something happened and it went down, they didn't have a credit card, or they didn't have this, I was like taking reservations. Anyone can just take the reservation. I wouldn't even write shit down.
Yeah.
They'd be like, oh, I actually don't have a credit card. And I'd be like, that's cool. I can just take your BSB and account number or your ACH details, and we can just order it that way. They don't have that. Hey, that's cool. What I can do is just grab your Venmo, your PayPal, Cash App. Yeah. What do you want? You can get a carry pigeon. I would get anything. They would go, oh, yeah, sweet. And I'd go, yep, the charge all went through. No worries. I'd be like, that's fantastic. You should receive a receipt in the next hour. I'll go ahead and organize your onboarding. Let's get you all set up. And then I'd be like, I'll give you a call back in a little while just to confirm a few things. Like, yeah, sweet. I call them back. And then, like, let's say like they left their credit card at home, right? And I go, hey, did you manage to find your credit card? And they go, oh, yeah, got it all sorted. It was on the couch. And I was like, oh, cool. Hey, man, weirdest thing. The payment just didn't go through. Do you mind if I grab your credit card details now and we do it that way?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Because, like, if I stumble, you know, and I make it weird, like, they're at the time where, like, once they've emotionally made that payment, they're in.
Yeah. It's done.
They're in. It's done. So if I go, okay, I'll call you back in an hour, all the little reasons in the back of their head as to why they wouldn't do that, they come out. And, like, it's 50-50 when I call them whether or not, no matter how good a job I've done. Mm-hmm. Right? So I just go, yeah, sweet, all good, done. And then I just call them back later.
Yep.
The same thing when I take someone from a deposit, like they don't want to make the full commitment, but like, hey, you know what? Yeah, I'll do a deposit. I'll put $500 down today, and then in a week's time, I'll do the additional $2,000 and do this. And I go, cool, man, sounds good. And I'm the only person that I know that teaches this because I think it's brilliant. If I'm honest, I go, yeah, it's cool, man. I'll go ahead and take that, and I process it, and I go, how's it feel, man? They go, great. I go, why does it feel great? They go, oh, this. And I go, taking that first step is really big. And like, congratulations, man, you took the first step. I was like, but why don't we just go all in?
This is just a tip conversation.
Yeah. And I go, let's just go all in. Like, dude, you have taken the hardest part. Like, you're at the bottom of a big fucking staircase. You're looking up, and dude, you've taken the first step. Mm-hmm. Like, let's just go all in.
What's the success rate on that?
It's huge.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. And then what I'll do is if I've had a good call with them, I'll start going, Pat, 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 and chanting their name. I'm going, fucking do it, Pat, Pat, Pat. And they go, let's fucking do it. They get all excited. It works. It literally works 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Same thing to get a payment plan and a full pay.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I go from payment plan, because I always pitch the most expensive version of whatever I'm selling. So let's say it's like 6 payments of $3,000, which is $18,000, or you could pay $15,000 paid in full. Right? I'll go, so it's $18,000 for 6 months, and for this is what you get. And then what I'll do is I'll use that because then I can roll them downhill. It's just easier, right? So I'll go, hey, listen, and let's say I get them into a 3 pay, right? Because I don't want to sell payment plans. I want to sell paid in fulls. But I'll go, okay, so it's 3 payments of $6,000. That works. Okay, cool. Take the $6,000. And I'll go, hey, man, did I mention that if you pay in full, you get like a discount? They go, no. I go, yeah, fuck, sorry, dude, my bad. It's $15,000 if you pay in full today. So you've put 6 down. It's only an additional 9.
Mm-hmm.
I go, you want to go all in? And then they'll be like, we can just do it right now.
The brain chemistry science on that's super interesting, right? Like that would be a dopamine surge. So like that fear and hesitation and anticipation, that sort of anxiety of a big step is a really addictive state to be in. In fact, it's probably actually the most not comfortable and certainly not pleasurable, but maybe comfortable like state for a human being to be in. Like that's where you idle at best. That sort of like, right?
Should I, shouldn't I?
Yeah. So like, and your ancestors did that, right? The ones that were like, hey, I'm comfortable, I'm happy doing nothing. They got eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. And the person who was like, things look good. I should find something to do. I should like improve my shelter. I should, fortify a little bit. They didn't get eaten by the saber-toothed tiger. So like we're programmed to feel that way. So I imagine after you get them, like, the dopamine surge is over because they've achieved, they've run the card. And then it's like, but you can bring them back into that position and give them the opportunity with a bigger, prize, it's the
next step. It's the all in.
And it like that's the brain chemistry of what would happen because they get that drop. Like I've made the payment, I feel sick now, and I want to feel like I did just a second before I made the payment. So let's triple the payment.
Let's do it, baby.
I could go right back to there. Right.
And that's why I recommend people get referrals right after people have bought.
Mm-hmm.
But that works. And a lot of the time what I'll do is I always recommend that clients of mine that we have a 30-day pay in full window.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if they pay the whole thing within 30 days or like within the calendar month, for example, then it's a paid in full.
Okay.
So I'll go, hey, listen, man, like if you want to do that, I'd be like, hey, listen, if I was able to, what if I took the second payment in 2 weeks? Would that work for you? And they're like, perfect, sweet. If you do it before the end of the calendar month, I can give you the paid in full.
Yeah.
And they're like, perfect. And I'm like, sweet, I'll schedule it for this date.
Yeah, right.
So, and a lot of the time I'll have paid in full incentives that aren't even monetary. It's like you get access to a particular day once a year, which is another great way of doing it. Because if you have a paid in full day, I used to recommend a paid in full day every quarter, and it was only for people who had paid in full the entirety, so they had no payment plans left in their program. Every quarter, then every 11 weeks, the sales team would reach out and just collect cash. And it was a way to collect more money quickly and kind of liquidate.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to do that a lot.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And it was really good. Like, hey man, we had this amazing guest. If you want, what you got to do is pay out your contract.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, fuck sweet.
And it's not bullshit. It's not like that false urgency thing. Like there really is a tangible thing they get for having been paid in full.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's really good. But all those little things stack up, and that's I think one of the reasons why we've been successful is because I just came up with a lot of these methods. I'm sure other people have done them. I'm not fucking, but I came up with a lot of them, and I have a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And these are ways to just collect a little bit more cash. Like if you tell me, if we're doing the payment plan thing, and I'm like, so what do you think we should get away with? And you're like, I think I could do 4. I always go, could you do 5?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, yeah, I could. I'm like, okay, sweet. I always just try and collect a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
and just push them to the next little bit of commitment, because the more commitment I get from them, the better. And then just being willing to ask, okay, now I've got the payment plan. Okay, now I'm going to drop you the paid in full discount. So it's all a system that's designed to collect the highest amount of money possible from people at all times. And which just liquidates everything way faster, which allows you to put more money back into ads, which means you can scale faster, which is why we've managed to sort of scale businesses so quickly, because we just employ all those tactics.
Yeah. And every little bit helps, right? So like for every one of those that nudges yours 1% further, 20 of those things is a 20% further.
Especially if you're looking at like return of ad spend, like ROAS, you know, it's like if we're over here and over here, there's a lot of steps in the way. If you increase everything by 2 or 3%, it's just a huge compounding factor. And it goes from a 6 times return of ad spend to a 12 times. Yeah. Then you can spend double the money and get double back again. You know, so works out.
Snap a do.
All right. If you guys like this content, make sure you let us know down below.
Yeah.
And we can keep doing it.
Questions, queries, dramas, doubtful points. Hit us with them in the comments.
I like it. All right, guys.
What can we elaborate on?
Yeah. What could we? I don't know. You guys tell us. But thanks for everything, guys, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye.